Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to another episode of On the Throttle with Jackie Van Ham and my buddy Josh over here, bringing you all of the new news and awesome stuff that's going on out here in the world of motorcycling and power sports. Greetings, Josh, from Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm down here with some of our MPN and Babcock's media folks shooting some video down here this week, running around a little bit, checking out some different shops and dealerships, doing all sorts of stuff down here. But I definitely want to make sure to get on the show today because there is some very exciting news in the world of motorcycling, talking about some new bikes and things that are going on. We're heading towards motorcycle riding season, Josh, with only about one more month to go until Daytona Bike Week, your favorite event of the year. I know. I know you look forward to it every single year, going down to Daytona, Daytona Beach,
Sure.
riding your
Yeah,
Harley
totally.
around. I know you look forward
100%.
to it. I'm giving Josh a hard time, of course. If you're a regular watcher of the show, you know that Josh is a total dirt bike nerd, and that is where he lives his best life, is out in the woods by himself, like a yeti,
Correct.
like a nomad out there, just having his adventures. I, however, will be attending Daytona Bike Week, and actually, I'm going to talk about it on one of the upcoming shows a little bit, talk about some of the cool stuff that's going on. But anyway, we will get to that when we get to that. For this week's show, we've got a whole bunch of new bikes and news and things going on. Josh, what do you have going on in your neck of the woods?
So I have electrifying English news, and you know me, if it's got handlebars, steering wheel, anything like that, I will ride, drive, whatever of anything. So we've got ways that you guys can do that on your own.
Awesome. Sounds like you've maybe got talking about a little bit of demo opportunity for people to go and
Oh
test ride
yeah,
some new motorcycles, which is awesome. I'm looking forward to that because that means that there's going to be warm weather eventually, Josh, and we're actually going to be able to go outside and ride motorcycles. So I'm definitely looking
agreed.
forward to that. But for today's show, I wanted to talk about my very first topic for this afternoon. It is a tale of two cities, or actually, I should say, a tale of two American motorcycle brands, because there's a little bit of news going on for everyone's favorite two motorcycle brands, the only two large motorcycle brands in existence currently, which would be Harley-Davidson and Indian Motorcycle. They are totally polar opposite ends of the spectrum with the news that's going on and burning down the internet a little bit
Yeah.
this week. The first bit of news that I wanted to go ahead and talk about is the release of some images, and these are purely concept prototype images. This is not a production vehicle, but indeed the folks at Harley Davidson, who branched off their electric project called Livewire, they are going to be building what they're calling a middleweight electric bike, is going to debut in the second quarter of 2022. Harley Davidson delivered its Q1 earnings report earlier this week, by the way. And spoiler alert, they made a boatload of dough. They had a really, really good year for the folks over there. They did separate out this past year, however, their Livewire project. Their Livewire project was their electric motorcycle that they kicked off about a bazillion years ago, to much, much, much fanfare. And then they got a new CEO and they decided to cut that program out and make it be its own standalone thing. They had put so much research and development and so much energy, effort, and cash into that project. They weren't willing to let it go. They just wanted to make sure that it was a separate thing, separate from Harley Davidson. However, look at all this orange and black, right? You can't mistake this. This is a Harley Davidson. They're kissing cousins. So this live wire that they're talking about is going to be called the Del Mar. And again, this is just a prototype. This is just a concept, but the belief is that the Del Mar is referencing some flat track racing that has been going on at the historic Del Mar racetrack in Southern California. And so they believe it is going to have a very flat track, scramblery, tracker type vibe to it. So this is just some ideas of what's going to be happening with it. I think that the game plan for this is going to be is they're describing it as a powerful, nimble electric motorcycle and the foundation for future variants. So what I think in my mind, what that also means is this might be code language for something that's a little less expensive. The very first Livewire that came out was plagued with a massive, massive price tag, topping up at above $30,000. for that bike. So needless to say, it was not like a sales blockbuster, but a very cool project, a very cool, neat thing. And it's the beginning of this family of motorcycles that's going to be put out by the folks over at Harley-Davidson. So I'm really excited to see that and see what's in store for that and see exactly what they mean by a little bit more affordable, because, is $20,000 a little bit more affordable in e-bike category money? I just don't really know what to expect. I don't know exactly what's going to be coming down the pipeline from them, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I love these little kind of guesses at what's happening and what it's going to look like with this, like I said, concept and prototype stylings of this Del Mar from Harley Davidson. Now, talking about another American motorcycle brand, this week, the folks over at Indian Motorcycle, there's been all sorts of little whisperings about another bike from them over there. That is a great big huge tour bike that they are rumored, again, this is a bit of a rumor, that they are rumored to be launching here in short order. And the details are finally starting to emerge on an upcoming Indian Pursuit. So I think the name Pursuit has been kind of held by the Indian Motorcycle folks for a while. It's been trademarked for nearly 2 years. And then they've been digging around trying to figure out what on earth this could mean. The belief is that it's going to be loosely based off of an Indian Challenger, which is what's up on your screen right now. It is a liquid cooled engine, but what they think is what's going to happen is that basically this Pursuit is going to be a tour version of this bike. It is going to, however, the game plan and the rumors that are swirling around from some well-informed insiders are that this bike is going to be bigger, it's going to be longer, it's going to be taller, and it's going to have a trunk on it. So I thought that this was really very interesting news, because it's like two totally opposite ends of the spectrum, right? Harley-Davidson decides to dig a little deeper into their electric profile and release something that's a little bit smaller, and Indian Motorcycle decides to double down on the great big huge tour bike category. And what do you think about this news from these two American brands this week, Josh?
So the first thing with the Harley Livewire stuff, I mean, to me, if they can lower that price point and make this more accessible to more people, all the better. I mean, Harley's had a problem with some accessibility, so to say, for people with the higher end stuff. And this could be a great way for them to, once again, get more people in the door, get people liking the Harley name, and go from there. I love it. My comment on the Indian is I've got my motorcycle endorsement. I also have my CDL, and I'm wondering if I need both of those in order to operate that Indian. That is just a behemoth of a bike. And I think it's great that when you look at it, Harley needs something small to fill in the smaller end. Indian needs that behemoth to compete with everyone else that's coming out with the ginormous bikes. It's great filler for both of them. I'm excited to see what they both come out with on them.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see exactly what this means. It's being 5'2", I'm obviously a little partial to shorter and smaller bikes. So it always cracked me like they're releasing a taller bike. Aren't there plenty of tall bikes? Because I don't know, there's an awful lot of bikes that I have a hard time throwing a leg over. So I kind of am wondering. I kind of scratch my head. Well, I kind of scratch my head and wonder, like, when I hear this kind of news floating around. But if it makes sense, it sells bikes, and I'm sure that they've done their homework on it, then high fives to them, and keep on keeping on for the folks over at Indian Motorcycle. Now, what do you have going on in your neck of the woods for this week, Josh?
So you gave me the ultimate lead in by saying electric and prototype, because Triumph, in conjunction with Willams Engineering, yes, the same Willams Engineering that does Formula One stuff, announced that they have completed phase 3 of testing of the Triumph TE1 electric motorcycle that you see right here on the screen. There's some of the details that were able to kind of come out about this. It is 174 peak horsepower with 107 continuous horsepower. So what I find so cool about that is obviously they've created a battery setup that when you give it the beans, it has the beans, but it will also protect itself by tuning back to 107 over long durations. It's a 360 volt system. Now, people always complain and they worry about with electric bikes, they're like, I can't go anywhere. You can go from 0 to 80% in 20 minutes with a 360 volt system like this. That is awesome. And I mean, really, anytime you get off the bike, you're going to be there for 10 minutes, take an extra stroll. On top of this, they say they're working now on phase 4, which is the calibration, mapping, rider modes, and track testing for this. I'm excited to see how this comes out. It's got I have this written down here. It is a 15 kilowatt hour battery. Now, for comparison, the SRS-0 has a 14.4 or 15.6 option. So it's right in that range also. When you look at what this has on it for specs, it's Gates drive belts, Öhlins cartridge forks, Öhlins rear shocks, and Brembo monoblock calipers. One of the things that I absolutely love seeing on this is look at that frame that you can see in the corner of this picture, and it was in the previous picture too. That has that traditional, like old school Triumph speed triple style that I just love. And I mean, it's gorgeous. It's going into stage 4. I am super pumped about this because I think Triumph has the right idea with this. I'm interested to see what the pricing is going to be. So now, is this, knowing that you like the e-bikes, Jacqui, is this something that you are going to shove one of those legs over and see if you can get a knee down with?
So no, I was really excited to see this news hit the internet this past week also. I mean, we talk about this all the time. E-bikes are here to stay. I'm here for it. I thoroughly enjoy e-bikes, but of course, you know, my biggest, I don't want to say gripe, but my biggest concern is always going to be this bar to entry with the price tag, because the battery tech and the computer tech is still just so prohibitively expensive that these motorcycles are just, you know, they're really, it's very difficult to get these to be less than $15,000. And while that doesn't sound like that much for a motorcycle, I still think people have a hard time wrapping their minds around that for something that doesn't make noise. just to keep it real with you. So I'm very curious about this. I love e-bikes. I say high five to Triumph. I think this is a very cool, neat thing. I love that they're keeping it competitive with being in that zero type space at that type of level, that type of power plant. And I think it's rad, and it also just leads me right into what I was going to talk about today also, which is the fact that KTM is also dropping one of their very first, or launching one of their very first e-bikes this past week. Also, we had details of that report sneak on out to the interwebs. The folks over at KTM have launched, during one of their big sales meetings, one of their internal schematics, one of their internal pieces of paperwork got out to the public, and it is basically talking about how the fact that KTM is going to be launching their very first e-bike, and it is going to be based off of the Duke. So they're going to be releasing an e-Duke. It is going to be a little guy, however, not the great big huge Duke or the big super Duke, but it's going to be a little guy. And it is going to be very, very similar, not too terribly surprising, to Husqvarna's e-bike that's also coming out. So Husqvarna is releasing an e-Pillion, because as we talked about last week on the show, Josh, you brought up the Svart Pillion and then the Vit Pillion, which, by the way, Svart stands for black and Vit stands for white, and Pillion is arrow. So it's black arrow and white arrow in English. Anywho, for your dorks out there. Anyway, so this is going to be an e-Pillion, so an electric arrow is what this guy is going to be. And you can already see that they're going to share an awful lot of power plant. They're going to share an awful lot of parts back and forth between the two, but with two very different stylings. I think they're both just really cool looking. Obviously, that e-Duke, very, very aggressive, very, very racy. I love the e-Pillion with the very, very modern vibes going on as well. So this is what's going on. So this is what's going on for the folks over at Team Orange. They are going to be going green. And it seems to be all the news this week with Triumph. And what was it last week? We talked about e-scooter from BMW and this. And everybody is starting to finally get hip to the skip and start launching these e-bikes quicker, more, faster. And again, the only thing that I want to put my hand up about and be like, wait, is price tag. That's my only question mark as far as we keep on trucking with these e-bikes is price tag, because as much as I love them, as cool as I think that they are, I just wonder, you know, as far as people getting into the sport of motorcycling, are they going to go drop $12,000-$15,000 on these bikes? if it's like their first bike that they're ever going to buy. You know, if the point of e-bikes is to make it simple, you know, these are clutchless machines. These are twist and go for the most part. You know, are they going to drop that kind of cash? I don't know, Josh. What do you think?
It's going to be interesting because, I mean, to me, when I look at the specs on these, so that 10 kilowatt nominal power, that's 13-ish, 14-ish horsepower. So
correct.
To me, these are kind of Grom-ish aimed, but with
these two on the screen right now are very little guys. You're right.
Right. But with big enough wheels on them that you can hoon it around. Maybe, I mean, granted, Groms are just hoon vehicles to begin with, but you can, I mean, do a little more handling, stuff like that. 5.5 kilowatt hour battery, too. When I look at that, that's a third of what the Triumph is that I just mentioned. So pricing on this hopefully can come in a range. Obviously, we're in that kind of, I don't want to call it a Gromish space, but you're right. The pricing is going to be the key with this because you're looking at something that's Gromish powered and not going to go out for 200 miles on a tank of fuel. So where can we do to compete with some internal combustion engine pricing with it? I think they're super cool bikes. I want to, like both of them, I want to take through downtown Akron and just hoon all over the place. But in the same sense, it's making sure that they've got that pricing in line. Husqvarna and KTM both are premium manufacturers, so they can get away with a little bit more pricing. But it's still, can they get it in that right range where people are interested in it? That's going to be the big question.
Yeah, and then again, both of these bikes have been revealed and shown in certain spaces. Again, as far as the reports that I've been reading, it's both the Pillion, which has been revealed in near production form already, and the E-DUKE, plus the Vektorr, which is the next slide, are expected to be built in India as part of its collaboration with Bajaj. So again, some really interesting news. There's an awful lot of manufacturers that are partnering up now with some of the Asia and Indian manufacturers because the market there is so huge. And they're making such big strides in this battery tech that we're starting to see this already. And I wanted to go ahead and throw this Husqvarna Vektorr up because I think that is absolutely wonderful. I think that is such a killer little e-scooter. I think that is really, really rad. So this is now part of a portfolio of e-machines coming from the folks over at Husqvarna and KTM. So interesting news going on over there. And then what else do you have going on in your neck of the woods, Josh?
So, like I said before, if someone gives me the keys to anything, I will ride, drive, whatever. If you like to do the same thing, there are a few opportunities to do that this year. The first one I want to talk about is the Ride Orange Street Demo Tour from KTM here. They are taking out all of their street bikes to different areas, different demo areas. I believe there was 16 dates. They will have anything from the 200 Duke, the 690 SMC, which I definitely kind of need to get my butt on that one, the 890 Duke, the 1290 Super Adventure R and S. Those are all going to be out with them. One of the big stops that I saw that we happened to visit together last year, Jackie, was Mid-Ohio. So I'm definitely going to be knocking on the KTM semi-truck door probably before they're even awake, like, hey, let me go for a ride. Let me go for a ride.
Josh, they're bringing it to your house.
Yeah, no, totally. So I will be there for that 100%. I mean, the first Supermoto is the picture right behind me. That's one of the ones that I got to ride, and that was probably 18 years ago at a KTM demo day. So I'm definitely going to be back with that. The next one I wanted to mention too is Aprilia is doing their Racers Days again. So they have partnered with Pirelli, AGV, Dainese, and they are doing track days where you can not only take your bike, but you can also do demos on the RSV4 factory, the RSV4, the Tuono V4, the RS660, and the factory versions of those. So with this, it's all about encouraging track time. It's also about learning about the brands that they've partnered with. The really cool thing with this is they have 6 events across the country. One of them is right after the Motogp event at COTA, and there will be 6 people selected to have a special VIP track day with Mr. Mad Max himself, Max Biaggi. To me, one of my older helmets that's sitting in the other room was a Max Biaggi one that had the Spartan guy on the back. So that kind of the throwback there for me. But Aprilia, once again, having an exciting event, doing their best to introduce people to the track, showing people what you can do with these bikes, and going from there. To me, so which one are you going to show up for all of these, Jacqui? Or are you just going to pick one, or are you going to ride everything?
Well, I've thought for the past handful of years, pre-COVID, I would, of course, go every year to Motogp at Circuit of the Americas down in Austin,
Mm-hmm.
Texas. It is a spectacular motorcycling weekend. There's a great custom bike show called Hand Built. Of course, there's the racing all weekend long. Everybody that you know that's in motorcycling shows up. It's just this huge weekend. And then different organizations have run traditionally track days on the
Yeah.
Monday following the races, the Monday and the Tuesday, and some MotoGP stars and stars from Moto America would stick around because they'd want a little extra seat time, or they'd want to go kind of like play around a little bit, or they had commitments with their helmet provider or whatever. They were celebrities, VIPs invited to be there. And of course, they're not just going to stand around and sign autographs. They're going to throw their leg over a bike and they're going to go out and ride. So it's
Correct.
been kind of an underground insider secret to stay and hang around and sign up for the track day following the MotoGP anyway. So it's awesome that this is all like folded into one great big huge event, and now it's like an official thing going on over there. I think that that's wonderful. It's a really really good time. The track is incredible, and as we just beep 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 breaking news, we just talked about last week's or 2 weeks ago's show. We talked about the fact that they're repaving a huge chunk of
Yeah.
Circuit of the Americas. So it is going to be super, super fast, super smooth, and very racy this year. And I bet you signing up for those Aprilia days would be a heck of a good time.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, to me, to sign up for, like I said, if there's a chance to ride anything, I mean, it could be something beat up old that doesn't even hardly have brakes. Yeah, I'll take it.
I
So
mean,
give me the
just much
chance
like
to,
yourself.
correct. My running joke is I have spent 43 years treating my body like a rental car. So yes, I will get on and hoon anything and go out and have fun with it. So yes, I am looking forward to this year. When you look at the news that we've talked about recently, we've got exciting times coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I'm so stoked to have this show every single week, bringing you all of this great news. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in, clicking, liking, sharing, and watching. Make sure you hit that notifications on here on the Facebooks, or subscribe over on the YouTubes. And we will see you guys next week. Have a great week, everybody. See you next week.